This video reframes the Army workout not as a fitness regimen, but as a sophisticated technology for dismantling the individual will. It argues that by weaponizing pain and colonizing time with a relentless cadence, this system forges a person into a predictable and obedient component of a larger machine. This logic, once confined to the barracks, has now quietly metastasized into our corporate culture, wellness apps, and daily routines, subtly reshaping our very definition of selfhood. But if this military-grade programming for the human soul is now all around us, where can we begin to see its subtle yet unmistakable fingerprints on our own lives?
What if the first thing you learned wasn't how to choose, how to, express your own will, but just how to count, how to follow a beat, a rhythm someone else imposes? It sounds like one of those philosophical questions, doesn't it? But for millions of people, for centuries, it's been a really real visceral experience. And it often starts with a sound, not a bell, not a horn, signaling the start of the day, but this rupture in the silence, usually before dawn, a voice, amplified by nothing but just raw authority, cutting through the air. And then comes the count. 1, 2, 3, 4. That rhythm, that primal cadence. It's echoed all through history, hasn't it? From the packed earth parade grounds in ancient Sparta, all the way to the sweat-slicked asphalt of Paris Island today. We are talking, obviously, about the Army workout. But here's the thing, the really crucial misunderstanding we need to just discard right now. This is not about fitness.
Not primarily, no.
Right. The sculpted bodies, the incredible endurance, being able to haul massive weight, those are just byproducts, aren't they? Like the sawdust left on the floor after you've built something much bigger.
Exactly. They're indicators that the process is working, but they aren't the core purpose.
Because the unstated thesis, the almost secret goal of the Army workout, seems to be this. The human body is a machine. Okay, yes. But it's a machine that can be programmed. And its native operating system, our individual will, which is often capricious, unreliable.
Definitely unreliable from a command perspective.
It has to be overwritten. That's the idea, isn't it?
That's the core concept.
Yeah.
It's like a fundamental rewrite of your inner code. Not just affecting what you do, but fundamentally altering who you are.
We're calling it ontological alchemy, which sounds very grand, I know.
It does, but it fits. Ontology is about the nature of being, right?
Yeah.
And alchemy is about transformation.
So it's literally about changing who you are at your core. It's a ritual almost, designed to transform the raw material of a person
into a perfected component, like a gear in a machine, precision engineered. Interchangeable, crucially, part of a much larger system.
And we, on the outside, we just think we're watching people get stronger, fitter.
Yeah, we admire the discipline, the results.
But what we're really witnessing is a kind of technology, a technology of the soul. And here's where it gets really, really interesting for all of us, I think. It's principles. They've escaped the barracks. They didn't stay contained.
No, not at all.
They are now quietly, subtly reshaping the very foundations of our world, often without us even noticing.
It's insidious in that way.
I mean, think about it. Every time you track your steps on your phone, or you strive for inbox 0 at work, or even just find yourself mindlessly clicking through an endless social media feed.
You're engaging with similar principles.
You're kind of participating in a similar kind of programming, aren't you? You feel it, don't you? That pull, that beat, that simple, almost seductive clarity of a world reduced to a 4 count.
It promises simplicity. It promises a kind of freedom, paradoxically, freedom from the burden of choice. What's truly captivating, I think, is how deeply ingrained this process is and how its, initial military application has produced these principles that resonate so far beyond the drill square. It's almost like discovering a hidden operating manual for modern life.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and unravel this mystery together, give you a shortcut to understanding it. We'll explore 5 core principles that really govern this cadence of control.
Yeah.
We'll look at how time gets colonized, how pain is inverted, used as a tool, the psychological impact, this lingering ghost in the machine, how this logic has, metastasized into our everyday lives, and finally, the really difficult part, the tragic irreversibility of it all.
Okay.
So let's start with that first one. How the Army workout fundamentally redefines our experience of time itself. How it turns that subjective river, as you called it, into a relentless click. Principle 1, the colonization of time.
Okay, let's unpack this first one. The colonization of time. Think about time in your normal life, right? Your civilian life.
Yeah.
It's fluid.
Subjective.
Totally subjective. It stretches out when you're bored stiff in a waiting room. And then suddenly it just compresses, vanishes during a moment of I don't know, intense joy or deep focus.
Absolutely.
It's like a river, and we all sort of navigate it with our own paddle strokes, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Inconsistent.
We feel like we're in control of the pace, more or less.
Yeah, we decide when to push, when to just drift along. But how does military training, how does it hijack that very personal internal sense of time? Where does it start?
Well, that personal internal rhythm, that's precisely what it targets from the outset. The Army workout introduces a chronology that, as you said, doesn't flow. It clicks.
It clicks like a metronome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The time of the metronome, the clockwork mechanism, the relentless rhythm of an assembly line. Every single repetition, whether it's a push-up, a kettlebell swing, a stride, in a formation run, it's measured. But not by the individual's effort or their feeling or their comfort level.
No.
It's measured by an external, implacable count. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's just no negotiation with it. There's no individual input into the pace.
Your own clock, your body's rhythms, they just get overridden.
Completely overridden, subsumed by the external beat.
So the body itself, it stops being this vessel for your personal experience, for how you feel, and instead it becomes, what? A percussion instrument.
That's a great way to put it.
Yep.
A percussion instrument struck again and again by the hammer of that cadence. 1, 2, 3, 4.
The platoon leader calls the rhythm.
And the flesh simply responds. It has to.
Okay, but what about that voice inside? That internal monologue we all have. The one saying, I can't do another one, or my muscles are burning, or this is too hard. How does this relentless external rhythm manage to silence something that feels so us?
Well, the brilliance of the system, from its own perspective, of course, is that it starves the mind. It deprives the mind of the time it needs for its usual complexities, its doubts, its negotiations.
Oh, okay.
That internal monologue of fatigue, it operates on a completely different temporal frequency. It needs space.
Yeah.
But the space between 3 and 4 in the count, it's just too short.
Too short for doubt.
Too short for doubt, too short for introspection, too short for choice to really take root. The mind, just desperate to keep up with the physical demand in the count, starts shedding things.
Like what?
Memory, aspiration, the 1,000 little anxieties of the individual self, they just fall away. All that matters in that moment is the next number, the next command. This constant external demand, this relentless beat, it effectively bypasses your normal internal processing. It bypasses personal volition. It forces a complete surrender of individual thought to the immediate externally imposed requirement.
It's like a psychological conditioning.
It's a fascinating, almost brutal form of psychological conditioning, yes. Your brain is literally trained to prioritize that external stimulus over your own internal sensations.
And this isn't entirely new, is it? If we look back, there are historical precedents. Like Frederick the Great's Prussian infantry, they amazed Europe with their discipline, right? Their almost robotic precision on the battlefield.
They were legendary.
And it wasn't necessarily because they were braver or stronger men individually. Our sources point out it was the endless, soul-crushing repetition of the drill.
Day in, day out, hours upon hours.
Soldiers learned to march, to turn, to load their muskets, not as separate actions they had to think about.
No, it became automatic.
Right, like a single multi-part command, executed perfectly, always to a beat. What did that achieve beyond just looking sharp on the parade ground?
It created, in effect, a single organism. An organism with hundreds of limbs moving as one.
A battlefield machine.
Pretty much. A battlefield machine whose components, the individual soldiers, were predictable, interchangeable, and lethally efficient. They didn't just learn what to do, they learned when to do it, in perfect synchronicity, without hesitation.
And the Army workout today, it's the direct descendant of that philosophy.
Absolutely. It's the modern factory floor where the components of that human machine are forged. The goal is explicitly to produce a controllable unit. It's actually different from fostering traditional teamwork, which often relies on individual initiative and judgment.
Which can be a liability in certain situations.
Precisely. In high-stress, rapid response situations, individual decision-making can slow things down or lead to errors. The system prioritizes predictability. Think about, a robot on an assembly line. It isn't expected to think or decide.
Just perform its task. Perfectly. Repeatedly. On cue.
Exactly. This is aiming for the human equivalent of that reliable, predictable performance.
Okay, but hang on. Someone listening might be thinking, isn't this just discipline? Isn't discipline necessary for any collective effort? A sports team, an orchestra, building a company.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
And it's a really important distinction to make.
Because it feels different somehow.
It is different. Think about the discipline of a craftsman learning their trade That's largely internal, isn't it? It's a dialogue between their will and the material they're working with. It's about self-mastery.
Right, or an athlete. Their discipline is also a dialogue between their body and their ambition, pushing their own limits for their own goals.
Correct. But the discipline of the barracks, that's entirely different. It's not a dialogue, it's a monologue.
A monologue.
Yeah, it's a command structure that floods the system until all other signals, internal feelings, doubts, desires are just drowned out. And the purpose, this is crucial, the purpose isn't really to build a better you in the sense of personal growth or self-actualization. No. The purpose is to build a better it, a functional unit, a component whose own volition, its own independent will, is actually seen as its greatest liability.
Wow, that's stark.
It is. The sweat pouring off these recruits. It isn't just saline. It's framed as the solvent in which the individual ego is meant to dissolve.
So we watch them, a line of bodies moving perfectly together, and we call it teamwork.
We do. But as you pointed out, it's actually closer to robotics, a finely tuned machine running on a single shared program where individual decision-making is minimized, actively discouraged even.
The individual's clock, their preferences, their pain, all just subsumed.
Subsumed to the collective, externally imposed beat. It's the ultimate erasure of personal time.
So by colonizing time, they start chipping away at the individual will, replacing it with this external rhythm. But a true transformation, like you said, needs more than just a ticking clock. It needs to break through deeper limits.
Limits of endurance, limits of pain tolerance.
And that brings us straight into our next principle, which is incredibly powerful and maybe the most uncomfortable one, the alchemy of pain. Because normally we run from pain, don't we? It's our body's alarm.
It's a fundamental warning system.
So how on earth does the military manage to completely flip that script, to invert that instinct? Principle 2, the alchemy of pain.
Well, what's truly profound here, and maybe disturbing, is how the military intentionally rewires that system, our most primal alarm. In a normal situation, pain triggers that fight or flight or freeze response. You get cortisol release, adrenaline.
Telling you, stop, danger, protect yourself.
Exactly, step back from the harm. But in the, let's call it the crucible of the Army workout, trainers actively coach recruits to reinterpret those exact same signals.
Reinterpret them? How?
The fundamental relationship is turned on its head. It's completely inverted. Pain is no longer the signal to stop. It actually becomes the signal that the process is working.
That the transformation is happening.
Precisely. It becomes the very medium of transformation. And this isn't just, a mental trick like mind over matter. It's a deep physiological and psychological re-education program for your nervous system.
That's a huge shift. To make pain not just bearable, but a goal, a measure of success. It really does sound like a kind of controlled demolition of the self.
That's a very apt description.
Our sources describe it as pushing someone to a place where only that external command can pull them through. What actually happens at that breaking point when the body is screaming, stop, but the cadence just keeps going? 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, our body are fundamentally designed for self-preservation, right? They're stubborn, they cling to their limits, their habits of comfort. So to overwrite that deep programming, you can't just reason with it. You can't just talk it into changing. You have to subject it to stress, physical and psychological stress, so profound that its old instincts simply fail. They get overwhelmed. This pushes an individual to a place where the only thing that can pull them through isn't their own willpower anymore, not their own desire to continue. It's that external command, the relentless count, the voice of the instructor.
And that's the moment of surrender.
That's what our sources identify as the moment of surrender, yes. It's a physiological and psychological wall that the training is specifically designed to make you hit and then break through, but only by latching onto the external structure.
And this surrender, it's not abstract. It happens very specifically, right? In those moments of just extreme physical agony. Can you paint a picture? What does that fracture of the ab bone actually look like on the ground?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine it really vividly. It's on the 20th consecutive pull-up. Every muscle is screaming. Your hands are raw, ripped maybe. Your arms feel like they're filled with lead. Or it's in the 4th mile of a timed group run. Your lungs are burning like fire. Your legs are just leaden anchors. Lactic acid is screaming at you to slow down, to stop. Or it's in that final agonizing minute of a plank hold. Every single fiber of your being is shaking, trembling, desperate for release, just begging to collapse.
I can almost feel it.
In those moments, the part of you that wants to quit, that defines your limits, it begins to fracture. The self literally fragments under that overwhelming load, under the unbearable stress.
And into that gap.
Into that void, that moment of internal collapse, the voice of the drill instructor, the rhythmic count, the cadence. It becomes the only solid thing, the only certainty left to hold on to.
It's like a lifeline, but an external one.
Exactly. It's a forced mental bypass. The conscious self is just overwhelmed, and the only available guidance comes from the outside.
So from the rubble of that old self, that self defined by I can't, something new gets built.
That's the idea. Something new is constructed.
A self that almost bizarrely equates pain with progress.
Learns to reinterpret the signals.
A self whose definition of what's possible isn't its own property anymore. It's not self-determined.
No, it's dictated entirely from the outside. By the cadre, by the standards, by the count.
Our sources use that powerful mythological analogy. It's like the forge of Hephaestus.
Right, where raw metal is subjected to unbearable heat and violent reshaping.
Not to destroy it, but to turn it into something else. A tool, a weapon, something fundamentally different.
And in that analogy, the pain of the workout is both the fire and the hammer.
Right.
And the soldier, uniquely, is both the smith and the ore. They're participating actively in their own violent remaking.
Wow. That's intense.
It is. And it's crucial to understand this isn't just about building brute strength. It's about fundamentally altering the psychological and physical relationship with discomfort, with effort. It's an intentional process, a controlled demolition of the self that was built on limits and comfort to create something entirely different. More resilient, yes, certainly, but also more compliant, more externally controlled.
The brain is literally relearning what pain means.
And how to react to it.
Yeah.
Overriding millennia of evolutionary programming that screams, stop.
Okay, now here's the counter-argument. The one that sounds really plausible, even admirable.
The resilience argument.
Exactly. But isn't this just building resilience? Don't we always say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Isn't this just pushing people to be their best?
That's a powerful idea, isn't it? And it allows us to look to this process and feel admiration, maybe, instead of unease.
Yeah.
Or even horror.
Yeah. But how do we actually distinguish between genuine resilience and what the Army workout is doing? Because they sound so similar sometimes.
That's such a crucial distinction and really goes to the heart of this whole deep dive, I think. Resilience, as we usually understand it, is the ability to withstand pressure and then return to your original form.
Like a spring, bends under force, snaps back.
Exactly. It maintains its core structure, its identity, it endures. The Army workout, however, has a fundamentally different goal. It doesn't seek to create something that can just bend and return. It seeks to create a thing that can be broken down, melted down almost, and then permanently recast into a new shape.
A new permanent shape.
Yes. The point isn't just to survive the fire. The point is to be fundamentally, irrevocably changed by it.
So it's not about enduring the storm.
It's about becoming the storm, or rather becoming the perfectly calibrated instrument designed to function within that storm.
And the body that emerges from this forge.
It no longer entirely belongs to the person who inhabits it. In a deep functional sense.
It belongs to the cadence.
It belongs to the cadence. It becomes an instrument finely tuned to the key of command. And it will resonate with that frequency, that programming, for the rest of its life. Even if the conscious mind later tries to reassert control, that deep systemic reprogramming leaves an indelible mark.
An indelible mark, and that profound, almost irreversible reshaping. It leaves something behind, doesn't it? It creates what our sources are calling a ghost. Which brings us right to Principle 3, the haunting of the self. Ministry Principle 3, the haunting of the self. Okay, so Principle 3, the haunting of the self. To build this automaton, effectively.
Yeah.
To start with the most imperfect material imaginable, right? A human being.
With all its complexities. Memory, free will, personality. A soul, some would say.
Exactly. And the whole process of the workout is explicitly designed to suppress those very qualities, to push them down, way down deep.
Into the cellars of the mind, as the source material puts it.
Yeah. But here's the critical insight from our sources. They're never truly erased. They can't be.
No, they linger.
They linger. And they become this ghost in the machine, a silent observer inside the re-engineered self. But how does this ghost actually manifest? Where can we see it? Is it just a feeling?
Well, what's fascinating psychologically is thinking about that initial voluntary surrender. You can almost see this ghost sometimes in those brief moments between the exercises. You know, that momentary pause, that slack-jawed stillness before the next command comes down.
That tiny gap.
Yeah, that sliver of silence. What's happening behind the eyes then? Often you might perceive just a flicker of the old self, the person who chose to be there, the one with a name, a history, personal dreams, fears.
The person before the programming took hold.
Exactly. That ghost is the memory of the person who existed before the programming was complete. It's the echo of a freedom that, paradoxically, had to be voluntarily surrendered to start the process.
That's the central paradox, isn't it? The system needs a conscious being to choose to become an unconscious instrument.
Precisely. And that creates this profound internal conflict, this schism between the choice made and the erosion of the very consciousness that made it.
And this haunting, it's not just some abstract psychological idea. Our sources are saying it's literally written into the flesh, into our biology.
Yeah, into the physical being itself. Neuroscientists talk about muscle memory, right?
Procedural knowledge.
Procedural knowledge, exactly.
Yeah.
Stored not in our conscious declarative memory, but in places like the cerebellum and the basal ganglia.
Things we do automatically.
The things we do automatically. Think about tying your shoes or riding a bike. You don't consciously think through every single step once you've learned it.
No, it just happens.
It just happens. That's muscle memory. It allows for rapid, unconscious action. Now, scale that up dramatically.
Right.
In the military context, an action repeated thousands, tens of thousands of times. It becomes utterly automatic. It's not a conscious choice anymore. It's a reflex.
Like field stripping a rifle in the dark.
Exactly. Or clearing a room, or dropping into a perfect push-up stance instantly. It happens with a speed and precision that completely bypasses conscious thought.
And the workout is what carves those channels.
The workout is the primary mechanism for carving those neural pathways deep into the nervous system. It teaches the body a language, a set of automatic responses that the conscious mind maybe can't even speak fluently, but that the body will quite literally never forget.
It's a biological transformation then, not just psychological.
It really is. It creates a body that responds before the mind can even formulate a command. A body that has a will of its own, in a way, but a will instilled by that external training.
Okay, so this leads us to a really critical and often quite tragic question. What happens when the commands finally stop? What happens when that soldier is alone, maybe years later, in the quiet of a suburban home?
That's when the ghost stirs.
The ghost stirs, and those reflexes, the ones that ensured survival on the battlefield.
In another context, they become a form of self-betrayal, or at least profound dissonance.
Can you give some examples? What does this ghost stirring look like in everyday life?
Oh, easily. Imagine. A car backfires down the street. Not a gunshot, just a car. But the body might instantly tense, drop into a combat crouch, scan for threats, before the conscious mind even fully processes the sound and identifies it as harmless.
Wow, that fast.
That fast. Or that hypervigilance honed to a razor's edge on patrol, constantly scanning for danger. Now manifests as debilitating anxiety in a crowded grocery store. Every unfamiliar sound, every sudden movement feels like a potential threat.
That must be exhausting.
Terribly exhausting. Or think about work. A sharp, maybe just slightly authoritative tone from a supervisor at a civilian job. It can trigger a whole cascade of subliminal obedience, a physical and mental deference honed by years of responding to command, totally disproportionate to the situation.
The body is still listening.
The body is still listening for a cadence that is no longer being called.
It's a machine left running without an operator.
That's a powerful way to put it. Its programming is now a source of deep dissonance, deep distress, because the script it was built to follow just doesn't exist anymore in that environment.
And the tragic irony.
The tragic irony is exactly that. The machine was built with incredible precision and purpose for the war. But the ghost, the remnant of the person inside, has to live in the peace, navigating a world that doesn't understand its programming, often doesn't even recognize it exists.
So that ghost, it becomes this constant quiet awareness of the split, the schism inside. Knowing your own body is haunted by a will that isn't entirely your own anymore.
Yeah.
It's that eerie feeling, maybe, of watching your own hands perform a task you didn't consciously command, or feeling your muscles tense up, anticipating an order that's never going to come.
It must be incredibly lonely. An internal battle nobody else can really see or understand.
It is. It's intensely isolating, this pervasive sense of disconnect.
You might be trying to have a normal conversation, but your body is still scanning the room for threats. You might try to relax on the couch, but your muscles are perpetually tensed, ready for action that never comes. It's that constant, quiet awareness that your own body is haunted by a will that isn't entirely your own.
This powerful, contained technology, but you said it didn't stay contained.
You know, it metastasized, it spread. Principle 4, metastasis, the cadence spreads.
And that brings us right to principle 4. Metastasis, the cadence spreads. For a long time, this technology of the self, this system for breaking down and rebuilding human will, it was mostly quarantined, right, within the military, within those walls.
We tended to think of it that way, yes, as something specific to that environment.
But maybe that was a bit naive, thinking it would just stay there. So, expert, how exactly did this logic, as you call it, escape the barracks? How did these principles start seeping into regular civilian life?
Well, what's really striking when you look at it is that the underlying logic of the Army workout never really depended on the uniform. Its core principles, this obsession with efficiency, with standardization, with data-driven performance, and crucially, with the idea that the human subject is malleable, programmable. That logic has fundamentally broken containment.
It wasn't like a deliberate plan then. The military didn't decide to export this.
No, not in any conscious way. It was more that the conceptual framework itself proved so incredibly effective at optimizing human behavior in one context that it became incredibly appealing in other contexts that also value efficiency and predictability.
Like business.
Like business, like technology, even like personal wellness. It's the quiet, insidious spread of an idea, a philosophy of control, because it works in a narrow sense. These algorithms, this way of thinking about people, they're now just running in the background of our whole civilization, often invisibly.
And the modern workplace, that seems like Exhibit A, doesn't it?
It's a prime, almost chilling example.
Yes. I mean, just think about KPIs, key performance indicators, quantifying everything.
Right, or the endless metrics for productivity, tracking every email sent, every task completed, every minute accounted for.
And gamification, making work tasks feel like a game with rewards and punishments.
Exactly. Mimicking the reward and punishment cycles of a training regimen. Digital badges for finishing projects. Leaderboards comparing colleagues.
Performance reviews that feel less like a conversation and more like an assessment.
We're constantly encouraged, pushed to break down our work into these measurable units, to compete, to optimize every single action for maximum efficiency.
Language is different, of course.
Oh yeah, the language is corporate jargon. Synergy, deliverables, leveraging assets.
Not reps and drills.
Not reps and drills, but the underlying principle, the core directive. It's identical. It's about reshaping human behavior into a more predictable, more productive, and ultimately more controllable form.
The open plan office, the new barracks square.
With its constant visibility and embedded metrics, it's not a bad analogy at all. Individual performance is continuously monitored and evaluated against external benchmarks.
It's almost funny how much of this just sounds like daily life now. And it doesn't stop at the office door, does it?
Not even close.
Look at the tech we carry in our pockets, on our wrists, that fitness tracker, counting every step. Measuring heart rate, sleep cycles.
Nudging you with notifications.
Close your rings, time to stand. I mean, I have one, we probably both do. And it feels like I'm improving myself, taking control of my health.
And that's the appeal, isn't it?
But you're saying it's more than that. It's a digital drill instructor.
In a very real sense, yes. It's a personalized cadence color. One that you have, crucially, voluntarily adopted.
Right. Nobody forced me to wear it.
You are submitting your own body, your own natural rhythms, your daily life, to a constant stream of external commands, external data points. You're training yourself to respond to its data-driven imperatives.
We call it wellness or self-improvement. And the intentions feel positive.
The conscious intentions absolutely are positive. Feeling empowered, taking control of health. That's genuine. But it is also, simultaneously, a profound form of self-subjugation to the algorithm, to the count. We are performing the same alchemy on ourselves now, using the heat of data and the hammer of notifications.
To forge a more optimized self.
Exactly. An optimized self that is also, not coincidentally, much more legible, more predictable, and often more profitable to the vast systems that collect and analyze that data.
So there's a subtle shift in autonomy happening, even when we think we're getting control.
A very subtle but profound shift. We willingly embrace these external commands, turning our personal quest for health into just another data stream that reinforces a wider system of measurement and control. We think we're choosing our pace, but often we're just following a very sophisticated, personalized count.
So I'm just trying to hit my step count, close my rings, and I'm unknowingly marching to a beat that wasn't really designed for my individual flourishing maybe, but for a larger unseen system.
So that's the implication, yeah.
This is the great silent expansion you talked about. The Army workout was like a prototype, a laboratory for a new kind of power.
Absolutely. A power that doesn't need to operate through overt force anymore. Not through direct commands and punishment in the old style. It operates through the subtle reshaping of our own desires, our habits, our definitions of success.
Wow.
It has created a world where we actually clamor to be programmed, where we willingly submit to the count, because it gives us that powerful sense of progress, that feeling of control.
Even as our deeper autonomy might be quietly eroding.
Even as that happens, the battlefield, as you said earlier, it has expanded dramatically. It's moved from the physical fields of, Gettysburg or Normandy to the very landscape of the human soul, the internal landscape.
So we're all soldiers now, in some way.
In some measure, yes. We're all drilling in a war of optimization, a war whose ultimate purpose we maybe don't fully understand, for a commander we cannot even see.
And this pervasive influence, it leads us to confront the final, maybe most difficult principle. If this technology is so powerful at making something, what about unmaking it? Principle 5, the tragedy of irreversibility.
Right.
Which brings us straight to principle 5, the tragedy of irreversibility. If the workout is this powerful technology for making a soldier, for profoundly transforming a human being into a very specific kind of instrument, is there a corresponding technology for unmaking one? Is there a process to reverse the alchemy, to undo that deep programming, to get back to the person you were before?
Well, the final, often unspoken truth of this entire system, and maybe its most heartbreaking aspect, is that there really isn't. Not in any equivalent structured way.
Yeah.
The programming can be written with incredible precision, incredible force, embedding those deep neural pathways, that psychological conditioning. But it cannot be truly erased.
Yeah.
Not easily, not thoroughly. This is the fifth, and I think most tragic principle. Irreversibility.
It's a permanent transformation.
It's effectively a permanent transformation that cannot be undone in any simple way.
Yeah.
The identity of soldier, the learned responses, they become so deeply woven into the fabric of the self, it's virtually impossible to fully disentangle them.
So a veteran comes home, the uniform gets put away in the closet, the rigid, unwavering rhythms of military life, the cadence, the clear objectives, they're supposed to be replaced by civilian life, right?
Yeah.
With its chaotic, asynchronous patterns.
That's the expectation.
But our sources ask that haunting question. How do you teach a weapon to be a hand again? How do you convince a body that's been trained for lethal reflexive action? How do you convince it to embrace the gentle hesitation, the nuances of normal civilian interaction?
It sounds like an almost impossible task when you put it like that.
Yeah.
And it is, largely because there's no structured counterpart to the initial training. The making is systematic, intense, collective. The unmaking, it's not a structured process at all. It's a journey each soldier has to undertake pretty much alone.
Without a drill instructor this time.
Without a drill instructor, without a cadence, without a platoon providing structure and support. There's no formalized deprogramming. There's no systematic way designed to dismantle the machine that was so precisely built.
That isolation, the lack of a process, that must be a huge part of the tragedy.
It's a significant part of it, yes.
Yeah.
They're left to grapple with these deeply ingrained systems largely on their own, often in a world that doesn't understand or maybe doesn't even want to acknowledge the profound transformation they've undergone.
And they are, in a very real sense, haunted by the very efficiency they were taught.
Absolutely haunted by it.
The slow pace, the sometimes meandering nature of ordinary life. The lack of immediate, clear-cut objectives.
It can feel like a constant low-grade emergency to a system trained for high alert.
Right, like their internal systems are just perpetually running hot even when there's no actual threat.
Exactly. And that lack of a defined mission, of a singular overriding objective like they had in the military, that can feel like a profound and terrifying void, a lack of purpose.
And the internal struggle, the body trying to adapt.
The body, which was tuned for years to respond instantly and precisely to external commands, struggles desperately to generate its own internal directives, its own sense of purpose and rhythm.
And this is where the ghost becomes a tormentor.
This is where the ghost can become a real tormentor, yes. That hypervigilance we mentioned, the thing that kept them safe on patrol. Now it just manifests as debilitating anxiety in a crowded supermarket. Every noise is amplified.
The ability to suppress emotion to complete a mission.
A vital skill in combat. Absolutely essential sometimes. But now, it creates a chasm, a disconnect between them and the people they love. Makes intimacy, connection incredibly difficult.
So the very skills that were assets.
The skills and traits that were once assets, ensuring survival and success in their military role, now become profound liabilities back in civilian life.
It's a disconnect.
A profound disconnect between the optimized self that was built for one specific purpose and the very different, much more nuanced demands of everyday existence. Civilian life requires a completely different set of emotional and behavioral responses.
And we, as a society, we're often really uncomfortable with this, aren't we? With the remnants of this decommissioned machine.
Deeply uncomfortable.
We want them to just return to normal, seamlessly reintegrate, put the ghosts to rest, and just move on.
That's the expectation, often unspoken, but it's there.
We expect it, but often without understanding the depth of the transformation, the permanence of the changes.
Exactly. There's a real societal responsibility here, isn't there, for the changes we ask people to undergo?
Absolutely. We fail to grasp that the programming was designed for permanence. It had to be effective in combat.
We, collectively, ask them to be broken down and rebuilt for a specific, vital purpose. And then we act surprised, maybe even frustrated or impatient, when they can't just be easily disassembled and returned to their original pre-programmed parts.
So the unmaking, it's not restoration.
No, the unmaking isn't a process of restoration to a former state. That state doesn't really exist anymore in the same way. It's more like a painful, lifelong act of negotiation.
Negotiation with the machine inside.
Negotiation with the machine that was built inside them. It's a quiet, often solitary effort to teach that ghost how to live in the world again. To find a new rhythm, maybe a self-generated one, in the silence after the counting has finally stopped.
Trying to forge a new identity.
One that can somehow coexist with the indelible marks left by the old one. It's a profound testament to the power of this cadence of control, but also a really somber reminder of its lasting, irreversible impact. Concluding synthesis.
So, here we are. At the end of this deep dive, we've watched, kind of metaphorically, the self get taken apart and then put back together in a profoundly different way. We've explored the clockwork body, where our own sense of time is colonized.
Overridden?
We've delved into the alchemy of pain, where suffering is turned into a tool for transformation. We've witnessed the haunting of the ghost, that lingering echo of the person who was there before.
The remnant of surrendered freedom.
We've traced the metastasis of the algorithm, seeing how these military principles have spread out, seeped into almost every corner of our civilian lives.
Yeah, far beyond the barracks.
And finally, we've had to confront the lonely tragedy of the unmaking, the sheer irreversibility of such deep programming.
We started with a simple question, didn't we? About an army workout. Something seemingly straightforward. And we've arrived at this, well, this disquieting truth. That we are all, in some measure, whether we realize it or not, kind of on the parade ground now.
Wow.
The cadence isn't just the drill instructor's 1, 2, 3, 4 anymore. It's morphed. It's become far more insidious, more pervasive.
It's the ping of that new email demanding our attention right now.
It's the endless, algorithmically curated scroll of our social media feed, pulling us into its rhythm, keeping us engaged.
It's the pressure of the quarterly report at work, the daily step count on our watch.
Even meticulously following some optimized morning routine we read about online.
It's just the relentless rhythm of a world that increasingly demands that we be efficient, predictable, measurable in everything.
We've internalized the drill instructor, haven't we?
It feels like it. We push ourselves past our limits now, not necessarily for a nation or a clear cause, but for this phantom notion of productivity, self-optimization.
Exactly. We're all, in a very real sense, forging ourselves in a fire. Often a fire of our own choosing, or so we think. Believing it to be an act of freedom, personal empowerment.
While willingly subjecting ourselves to these counts, these metrics, these external demands.
Convinced it's for our own good, when the underlying logic might actually be about creating a more predictable, more legible, more controllable unit for something else.
A door has definitely been opened by looking at it this way.
You see the pattern now.
You see the pattern, that grim underlying logic connecting the soldier doing push-ups in the mud.
To the office worker staring at that spreadsheet late into the night.
Or the individual meticulously tracking every calorie, every step, every minute of sleep.
You see how this technology, originally designed for the profound control of the body in a time of war,
has somehow become the preferred technology for the subtle management of the soul in a time of peace.
The mystery, then. It isn't really what the army workout does to the soldier anymore. We've kind of unpacked that. The real mystery, the one we're all living inside now, is what its philosophy, its underlying principles are doing to all of us right now, today. Outro. And you, listen to this. You're left on this threshold, maybe, perhaps feeling a little unsettled. I hope so. Maybe the world might look a bit different to you now. It might even sound different. So listen, when you get a chance, listen carefully. In the quiet moments of your own life, in the spaces between the demands, between the distractions, you might just hear it. A faint, familiar count, somewhere in the background noise, waiting for you to fall in step. And the truest, maybe the most haunting question of all is not whether you can hear it, but whether you have already, without ever truly realizing it, begun to move to its beat.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end, and see you in the next video.